It's the year 2021. Britney Spears fans are heading to the courthouse building in Los Angeles with signs that say, "Free Britney," demanding an end to her legal, court-ordered guardianship. At that time, Britney had already been under the control of her own father and the guardianship system for 13 years. They controlled everything, even down to her everyday habits, including an average trip to Starbucks. Throughout Britney's entire life, she was followed by everyone: paparazzi, crazy fans, the label company, and her family. Britney never really had her own personal space or an actual private life.
It's okay. I would like for them to leave me alone.
Scandalous headlines always followed Britney's career. It's enough to recall the year 2007 when she completely shaved her head. Footage from this event were circulated throughout the entire world. Many years have passed since then, but essentially, very little has actually changed. Even in 2025, she's still actively discussed on social media. It's enough for Britney to just post a video of herself dancing weirdly, and people again start saying that the singer needs help. Well, maybe it really does all seem weird, but the main question lies somewhere else. How did Britney end up in such a difficult psychological state? What happened to her, and what did she go through? To understand that, we need to get back to her roots, because it was her family who played a decisive role in her fate. Britney's dad, Jamie Spears, grew up in a dysfunctional environment. His mother ended her own life when he was 13 years old. She had a miscarriage that caused psychological trauma that she was unable to recover from. Jamie's father was strict, and to put it mildly, unfit to parent. As Jamie's younger daughter wrote in her memoirs, her grandpa made unreasonable demands to his son in everything. He forced him to play sports for hours, enduring exhaustion. Her dad loved basketball, but he was forced to play American football, even though he would have done much better playing basketball. Prior to getting married to Lynn Bridges, Britney's mom, Jamie had another wife, but they quickly got divorced. He got married to Lynn in 1976, and already by 1980, she tried to divorce him, demanding a restraining order because she feared stalking and possible harm. Nevertheless, they reconciled again, and on the 2nd of December 1981, they gave birth to Britney Jean Spears. 4 years prior to that, they had their son Brian, and 10 years later, their younger daughter Jamie Lynn. Lynn took care of the kids while Jamie worked in the construction industry in their city, Kentwood, in the state of Louisiana. He, for example, built the first exercise gym in the city. At the age of 3, Britney took dancing classes, and this hobby became the most important part of her life. The family went to church on Sundays, and Britney joined the church choir. Jamie struggled at work, and the family slipped into poverty. To feed his wife and 2 kids, he went hunting and brought home rabbits and small birds. Yeah, and also in his personal life, things weren't going so well. Jamie abused alcohol. So, yes, Britney grew up in a dysfunctional environment. And it was only in Britney that her mother found an outlet from the poverty and the unhappiness of her marriage. She saw in her a stage-worthy talent, started taking her to singing lessons, gymnastics, and dance classes, preparing her to conquer heights. In parallel to that, children's beauty pageants. Towards the late 1980s, the family put all their efforts into making Britney a star. But they didn't yet fully know exactly how. They reached out to child agent Nancy Carson. She took over Britney and helped her enroll in a professional school of performing arts, after which the mother and daughter moved to New York. She was a funny, sweet, and amazing girl. I adored her and adore her still, recalled Nancy. In the documentary film Framing Britney Spears, which we will get to in a bit, they highlighted that. Britney's dad was concerned about money more than anything else, like where the money is going, when they'll make it back, and how much she's earning. The famous sentence that Jamie once said, according to the marketing director of the label, is that, "My daughter's gonna be so rich, she's gonna buy me a boat." In doing so, he was basically not present at all in Britney's life. Arguments with her mother and alcoholism are what she saw. In any case, everything makes sense with that phrase. In 1990, Britney took part in her first musical and got a part in a commercial. And in that same year of 1990, she went on the casting for the relaunching of the Mickey Mouse Club. It didn't work out the first time, but she remained on their radar. However, Britney didn't lose hope, and in 1992, she took part in the children's category of the popular talent show Star Search, and she performed Love Can Build a Bridge by the Judds Band. She got second place, after which she went back to Disney. When she turned 10, she was actually brought in for the new season of the Mickey Mouse Club, where she met Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera. What lies ahead is drama between them, but for the time being, they were just childhood friends. 2 years later, the club shut down and everybody went home. For the next 2 years, Britney led a normal life: schools, friends, basketball. But by 1996, there were new auditions and demos. In case any of you have forgotten, in the late 1990s, it was the time of the boy bands and girl bands like NSYNC, Destiny's Child, TLC, and of course, Spice Girls. Britney was in talks over joining the group Innocence, but the family friend and lawyer Larry Rudolph convinced them to make Britney a solo artist, and he couldn't have been more right. A couple of auditions later, Britney performed in front of the director of the Jive Records label company, where she signed a contract. In 1998, Britney spent some time in Sweden, where artists work with Max Martin. Together with him, the first hit songs and the outline of a debut album were born. In September, debut single Baby One More Time was released. The song was originally offered to TLC, but they turned it down, and Max Martin gave it to Britney. Can you actually imagine TLC with this song? I hardly can, to be honest. The single started at 17th place in the Billboard and then blew up and topped the chart for the next 2 months. In the end, the track held first places around the world and became a timeless classic. The schoolgirl look from the music video is still, to this day, one of the most popular Halloween costumes. Next up, she went on a tour across shopping centers sponsored by L'Oreal. Britney performed in food courts and presented new songs. At the label, they worked on Britney's vocal presentation. She initially sang in a deeper voice with a lower pitch, inspired by Whitney Houston, but her baby voice turned out to be more selling, and it became her signature sound. At the beginning of 1999, her debut album was published, which became an instant hit. It topped the charts in 15 countries and broke some records. Britney was the first new female artist who had a single and an album topping the Billboard at the same time. Britney quickly became an icon and a role model for teenagers, which means she was burdened with huge moral responsibility. A Grammy nomination alongside other awards, a North American tour, and yet another huge song, Oops, I Did It Again. The song got 9th place in the Billboard, but remained one of Britney's most recognizable songs. Her second album, under the same name, started at number 1 in the album charts, and it included several tracks that you're familiar with. At the VMAs in that same year, Britney ripped off her costume and revealed a nude bodysuit, and the public were shown a more explicit image. From that point onwards, a storm brew in the media. On one hand, there was judgment, and on the other, there was an unhealthy interest in her sex life. In one interview, Britney once said that she wants to save her virginity till marriage, after which journalists asked her about it basically every single time.
You're not going to have sex before your marriage.
Why?
Is that a standard that is hard to live up to?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm 18 and I have so much of my life to go look forward to, and it's just I really haven't found that right person. I just want to make sure the person that I'm with, that I do that with, is the right one, because my mom always told me, once you do that, there's so many more emotions involved, and I just don't want to go there right now. I'm so busy focused on my career and focused on me,
A couple of years later, she admitted that she regrets having said that.
I really wish I would have never said anything to begin with, because I'm stuck in this little place where people are always asking me, but, you know, that's just something that's part of growing up, and that's just something that we all have to deal with, so.
And it wasn't a one-time thing. The press discussed literally everything, even down to Britney's breasts.
There's one subject we didn't discuss. What was that? Everyone's talking about it.
What?
Well, your breasts.
My breasts.
You seem to get furious when a talk show host comes up with this subject.
In parallel to that, she started a relationship with Justin Timberlake. By 2001, they were Hollywood's main couple. Both were successful and adored. And against this backdrop, her second album, which was called Britney, was released. It became known that the little girl had grown up, became bolder, and wasn't hiding her sexuality.
Don't you wanna dance up on me?
In addition to striking music videos, her performances were also impressive. At the VMAs, we got that very same show with the python. Britney began in a cage with a tiger and then went out with a snake around her neck. The public was guaranteed to be shocked. And it was clear that the more popular Britney was, the harsher the critique got. She was labeled as an awful role model, saying that she was too promiscuous. That is, people just want yet another reason to criticize the artist one more time. But all this seemed minor when compared to what was to come. She broke up with Justin. Timberlake's team actively spread a version of the story that says that Britney cheated. Justin himself in an interview confirmed the allegations and released his first solo single about a cheating girlfriend. And in the music video, we had her look-alike. Britney went on an interview with Diane Sawyer and got a harsh, often humiliating conversation where she was basically accused of breaking Justin's heart. The media's agenda dramatically switched to hate.
And yet he's left the impression that you weren't faithful, that you betrayed the relationship.
I think everyone has a side to their story.
To add fuel to the fire, her kiss with Madonna, which, when Justin saw it, it was clearly visible that he was shocked. And Britney continued making references about Justin Timberlake in her fourth album, called In the Zone.
Every time I try to fly, I fall without my wings.
But the album's hit became Toxic. By the way, I think you might agree that this is the most popular track in her career, and it had a huge impact on pop music.
Taste of a poison paradise. I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic?
Well, of course, the In the Zone album debuted at number 1, making Britney the first artist in history who has her first 4 albums in a row start at the top of the Billboard. Everything was stable in her music career, but in her personal life, the mess just kept piling. In January 2004, she has a spontaneous wedding with her childhood friend Jason Alexander in a small Las Vegas chapel. 55 hours later, the marriage was annulled. Her mother and manager were infuriated and immediately finalized the termination. Around the same time, and for unknown reasons, the label canceled her next album that was ready. On the Kiss FM radio, Britney even managed to show a demo of Mona Lisa. A version of what happened went around stating that Britney was seeking greater autonomy, which is why she wanted to get back at the label, as she was exhausted of the excessive control she was under. And after all this fuss around the album, she got married, and this time it was legit. Her husband was Kevin Federline, and Britney had such a huge crush on him that she proposed to him herself.
You proposed? Really? And did he say yes right away?
Not right away.
No?
The couple launched a reality show called Chaotic, after which Britney called it the worst decision of her career. Viewers and critics alike very poorly received the show. It was called awkward, embarrassing, and the ratings were low. In August of 2005, she gave birth to her first son, Sean Preston. Britney had always dreamt of a family and kids, and her dream came true. But she wasn't as happy as she'd wanted to be. Even more so, she got pregnant from a man who started seeing her when he was already expecting a child with his then-girlfriend, Shar Jackson. So it was no surprise that conflicts arose in their relationship. And add constant paparazzi to all that. Crowds followed Britney, becoming a threat for her child. Her son Sean twice got in danger. Once when Britney tried to run away from photographers and nearly dropped him, and the second time when she sat her child on her lap while she was driving.
I would just say that you have babies at home and you have a life, and if you don't, you have to realize that we're people and that we just need privacy and we need our respect, and those are things that you have to have as a human.
The year of 2006 was a turning point in Britney's life. 2 months after the birth of her second child, she divorced Kevin and started partying with Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. I think we all know how Hilton partied in the 2000s. And it became understandable that the nightlife was just pouring fuel to the press's fire. But then a serious tragedy followed for Britney. In January of 2007, her aunt from her mom's side passed away. Her name was Sandra Covington, and she was like a second mother to her. After the funeral, Britney reached a point of no return. Nervous breakdowns, firing her long-term assistants, and isolation. On the 15th of February 2007, she was admitted into rehab for 24 hours. And 2 days later, she had the most scandalous 24 hours of her entire career. She went into a hair salon with a crazy request to completely shave off her head. The hairdresser understood that Britney wasn't thinking straight and refused to shave her head, so Britney took the shaver herself and shaved her own head. "I'm sick and tired of being touched. I don't want anyone to approach me." After shaving, she got another couple of tattoos, and in the following day, Britney was all over the tabloids.
Britney Spears. She's bald.
But some seem more concerned about getting her take on Britney Spears' new do, asking her if she'd ever consider, well, to go bald.
The pop star shaved her own head.
The pop star shaving her own head.
She did not shave her head. Are you for real?
Only 5 days after she shaved her head, Britney committed another scandalous act. On the 21st of February 2007, while in the suburbs of Los Angeles, Spears tried to visit her sons at the home of her ex, Kevin. They didn't open the doors for her and even called the police. The frustrated singer left, but the paparazzi followed her car everywhere. At the gas station, while Britney's cousin was filling up the car, photographers surrounded them, flashing their cameras at a bald Spears. Britney initially patiently asked them to leave her alone, but she suddenly snapped. She hopped out of the car. She angrily launched at one of the paparazzi's cars, waving a green umbrella. In the end, she broke the car's window and bent the umbrella herself, after which she threw it away and sped off. Britney later publicly apologized for her outburst of rage, explaining that back then she was stressed out, and even hinted that she was rehearsing a fictional role for a movie. After the incident with the umbrella, Spears realized the necessity for some serious help. In that very same day, on the 21st of February 2007, she once again got admitted to a rehab center. This time, it was the Promises Clinic in Malibu for a full treatment course. She had to stay there from 30 to 45 days. As her mom said, Britney began drinking at the age of 13. She started taking drugs at 15. Briefly speaking, Britney underwent treatment, and by the end of 2007, she released Blackout, a dark, experimental album, which critics later labeled as the Bible of pop music, although the industry initially mocked this release and then tried to copy this sound for years on end. But a so-called triumphant return to the stage didn't happen. At the VMA opening in 2007, her performance with Gimme More came out somewhat blurry. Britney wasn't ready, and the world once again laughed, churning out parodies. It couldn't seemingly get worse, right? Oh, but it did. In 2008, everything went crashing down. At the beginning of the year, Britney locked herself at home with her kids and refused to give them to Kevin, defying court orders. The police and ambulance were called onto the scene. Britney was taken away on stretchers and was admitted to a hospital, according to the so-called Code 5150, an involuntary psychiatric hold for 72 hours. Such a code is prescribed if a person could potentially pose a threat to themselves or to others, or if they're deemed temporarily incompetent. It was in these specific days that Kevin received full temporary custody of the children. At around the same time, her father, who had previously practically no involvement in her life and only cared about whether Britney would buy him a yacht or not, appeared in court and sought out temporary guardianship over his daughter. The court appointed him as Britney's main caretaker, and together with him, the second caretaker would be lawyer Andrew Wallet. The petition claimed that Britney had been developing dementia since 2004. This was an argument that later caused a huge debate. Of course, another version went around stating that the entire story with setting up the guardianship was set up. Allegedly, on that night when Britney locked herself in the bedroom with her kids, her assistant advised her to stay there for as long as possible, assuring her that the police and her ex would eventually leave, and that she can calmly spend a little more time with her sons. But it was this very prolongation that became the key argument in the debate about that Britney is incapable and is in need of care. Moreover, long before that, her dad had already consulted a woman by the name of Lou Taylor, who happens to be the manager and founder of the TriStar Sports and Entertainment Group company that specializes in the treatment of the capital and careers of stars. There had always been a lot of debate surrounding her name. Fans accused her of being responsible for schemes of financial control and deals that are profitable for caregivers. Furthermore, Lou Taylor seriously tried to promote similar schemes with other famous people as well. This was directly confirmed later on by Courtney Love, who stated that Taylor and her team had tried to organize a guardianship case against her. In one way or another, in February of 2008, Britney completely ended up under the guardianship of her father. Next up, we can further analyze the details of how Jamie Spears' team pulled Britney's lawyer out of the case after making her out to look as if she was incapable of choosing a defender for herself in court, as they continue to put pressure on the media to keep putting out the image of a crazy Britney. But I want to direct your attention to something else. At the end of 2008, a documentary called For the Record was published about Britney's return to the stage. And in it, and for the first time, and essentially for the last time for many years to come, she openly spoke about what had happened.
If I wasn't under her restraints that I'm under right now, I'd feel so liberated. And when I tell them the way I feel, it's like they hear me, but they're really not listening. Even when you go to jail, there's always the time that you know that you're gonna get out, you know. But in this situation, it's never ending. There's no excitement, there's no passion.
This was the last interview in which Britney in any way touched upon the topic of her guardianship. After that, her team started to strictly control each word that comes out of her mouth. All interviewers were given lists of forbidden topics and questions, and each interview became previously agreed upon. An example of this is the story with Carson Daly. His show on MTV offered Britney a full-fledged live interview. She had initially agreed, but it later became clear that the meeting had to be pre-recorded, and all the questions and answers had to be prepared earlier and approved by her management. In fact, after this documentary film, which was quickly wiped out of everywhere and is now impossible to find in its entirety in any legitimate source whatsoever, Britney did not utter a single word about her guardianship. That is, until the year 2021. In the meantime, the industry acknowledged Blackout, a VMA award, a cameo in How I Met Your Mother, and then an album called Circus. The lead single, Womanizer, returned Britney to the top of the Billboard for the first time since Baby One More Time.
You say I'm crazy, I got you crazy. You're nothing but a womanizer. All eyes on me in the center of the ring, just like a circus. With everybody.
By the end of the year, her dad managed to forbid a number of individuals from approaching Britney, including Sam Lutfi. It isn't fully understood who this person is. He was labeled in the media sometimes as the manager, and other times as a friend. But in reality, his role was much more vague than that. According to rumors and even alleged leaked phone calls, Lutfi tried to help Britney, but more specifically, he tried to promote the idea about taking away the guardianship. But at the same time, the singer's family argued that he just aggravated her unstable situation and that he had negatively influenced her, including slipping in drugs for her. Sam issued a lawsuit for misinformation about him, after which, interestingly, both sides came to a peaceful agreement and the family paid him a six-figure sum. And in 2010, Britney launched a personal collection clothing line. Prior to this moment, she already had a successful perfume line. She had appeared in a cameo in a TV show. She was negotiating about participating in the X Factor show. And she did not forget about music. In 2011, the album Femme Fatale was released. The song Hold It Against Me quickly rose to first place on the Billboard Hot 100.
If I said my heart was beating loud, if we could escape the crowd somehow.
And of course, how can we not mention these hit songs?
I'm in love with the criminal, and this type of love isn't rational. I wanna go away, taking you.
As far as her career goes, at that time, everything seemed to be going smoothly. Britney's reputation had practically completely recovered, the album was successful, and tours were selling out arenas. She appeared in the new season of The X Factor and very quickly became the viewers' fan favorite. She was labeled as honest but fair, funny and pleasant. The public once again fell in love with Britney, and for some time, all the scandals of the past were erased. And with them, the topic of her guardianship was erased as well, even though behind the scenes, the situation remained the same. Pictures of Britney crying circulated the internet. Behind them, there hid a destroyed hope for the guardianship to be lifted. Her dad continued to control absolutely every aspect: finances, her personal life, relocations, medications that she took, and even who she surrounds herself with, for whom, by that point, almost none were left. During a meeting with a psychiatrist, Britney said that she was stable enough and ready to live independently. And frankly speaking, that's easy to believe. This person works almost nonstop, taking part in a massive TV show, performs, records music. All the while, she cannot go to Starbucks without her dad's permission. Nevertheless, nothing has changed since then. Britney remains under the guardianship of her dad, who, for her participation in the X Factor show, received a record payment of $15 million. Up until now, this has been the biggest payout for the participation of a judge on a TV talent show. Next up, yet another hit song to add to Britney's collection. This time, it's a collab with will.i.am. Britney continued to release music for a few years, and then another attempt to free her from her dad's guardianship took place. It all started with the Domination residency. The promo for it was massive. Buildings in Las Vegas were lit with projections of her iconic moments, and the opening night was broadcast live on the air. According to the plan, Britney was supposed to go on stage, perform a song, give a few interviews, and leave. But in that night, things didn't go according to schedule. She really did show up in Vegas, got up on stage, then got off the stage and just left. She didn't say a single word and didn't even give one interview. 11 weeks later, the residency was canceled. The official version attributes it to concerns of her dad's health. Britney announced that she wants to spend more time with her family. After that, she kind of headed to rehab for a few weeks. It was from this point onwards that her social networks began to turn into a stream of strange posts and mysterious videos. No concerts, no interviews, just confusing content on Instagram. Around the same time, Andrew Wallet, the lawyer who had been her co-guardian from the very beginning, was unexpectedly fired. It is still unknown to this day why exactly that happened. For nearly 2 months, Britney almost did not show up in public at all. And then, on her Instagram, there showed up a short post stating, "We all need to take time for a little me time." And it was signed off with an average smiley face made of symbols. This alarmed fans. Britney always used emojis, and here, everything looked like it was written by somebody else. The authors of the Britney's Gram podcast shed light on this issue. Soon after, They got anonymous messages from a lawyer who claimed to work with Britney and claimed that she was sent to a clinic against her will. And all of this leads people to think that somebody else is controlling her accounts on social media. After that, the most famous conspiracy theory was born. Wear a yellow shirt if you're not feeling okay. Personally, I don't believe in all that, but it was this very wave that became the starting point for the Free Britney movement. Initially, her father, Jamie Spears, spoke out everywhere, saying that all these conspiracy theorists don't know anything. The world don't have a clue. It's up to the court of California to decide what's best for my daughter. It's no one else's business, said Britney's dad. But then, against the backdrop of the igniting Free Britney campaign, he temporarily left his position as her guardian, while saving for himself the authority over her finances. After that, her mom suddenly and unexpectedly made an announcement about that she wants to take part in matters concerning her daughter's well-being. In 2021, a documentary film called Framing Britney Spears was released by the New York Times. It reveals in great detail how the guardianship was set up and how it was precisely her dad who pulled off this entire scheme. This movie became a trigger. The Free Britney movement exploded with new force, and people once again went out on the streets. And the court finally allowed Britney to hire her own lawyer. In that same year, Britney initially advocated for herself in court, and this is what she had to say.
She said in this court hearing, quote, "I feel ganged up on, I feel bullied, and I feel left out and alone, and I'm tired of feeling alone." She said that she's being exploited and that she can't sleep, is depressed, and cries every day.
And even though the process took a few months, Britney anyway sought for a release. For the first time in 13 years, she was free. After she felt free, she even got married again. This time it was to Sam Asghari, that very same guy from the Slumber Party music video. However, they didn't last together for too long, and in 2023 to 2024, they got divorced. Britney later described her marriage with Sam as a fake distraction during a time when she was going through a rough period of being distant from her sons. These words created a stir in the media and amongst fans, especially that they had such a cool wedding. And even Sam was confused, expressing that the feelings were sincere and that he values the memories of their relationship. And then there's her social media pages. They almost didn't change. The same dances by the mirror, the stock pictures, the strange captions, the constant debate. Is she the one posting them herself? When these videos are recorded, who posts them and why? In 2024, rumors were once again linked to her having issues with her psychological health. But Britney herself emphasized that she feels free and no longer allows anyone to control her life, which is why she doesn't allow even her relatives to get close to her. All right, so we get it about her dad, as he's a tyrant in her eyes and that she doesn't want to see him. But what about her mom, you might ask? After Britney was finally freed, her relationship with her mother, Lynn, was not so stable. Sometimes they seemed to have reconciled, and in other times it was as if they were fighting again. At this point, they're not in contact with one another. Britney still bitterly remembers that neither her mom nor her sister helped her break free from the guardianship. So it's difficult for her to completely let go of past resentments. And with that, her story remains controversial. On one hand, there's victory with the guardianship case, and on the other, a constant battle for personal happiness for the right to remain true to herself. The next video I recommend you watch is about the singer Nelly Furtado, whom you've definitely heard about and listened to her songs. Subscribe to Music Vibe, hit the like button, and see you soon.